to the entertaining Talkin' Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, I'm going to be doing my first of several first-round mock drafts. In addition to that, I'll be doing some New York Giants specific 7-round mock drafts. But I typically do like 3, 4, maybe even 5 of these before the draft gets going. Of course, there's several steps in the process that could change my opinion and everybody else's opinion as to what team needs may be going in. You have pro days. Normally, you would have a combine. You're not going to have that this year. You have free agency. And then, you hear rumors along the way. So that's why I do, so many mock drafts. This is my 1.0, my way too early mock draft. And the first version to me is kind of just establishing and finding out about some of these early round prospects and some of the needs for the teams around the league that obviously will inevitably change as we get into free agency. But I think this is just kind of to educate ourselves as to what teams may be looking for in the first round of this year's draft. But without further ado, let's jump right into it. And obviously, the number 1 overall pick, I think you guys all know where I'm going here. It's the same number 1 overall pick that people have been talking about forever. The Jacksonville Jaguars will be taking Trevor Lawrence. If they don't, I'd be beyond shocked. The guy is a near-perfect quarterback prospect. Been the most talked about quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. And they got some decent weapons over there in Jacksonville. He'll come in there. I think that's why Urban Meyer took the job, and I think he's going to do a great job there and be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. He's been widely talked about for a reason. So I got him going number 1 overall at Jacksonville. No surprise there. Next up, the New York Jets. And you've started to hear a lot of rumors with the New York Jets, what they're going to do with this pick. Are they going to trade down? Are they going to take a wide receiver? Are they going to stick with Darnold? Well, I don't believe it. I think a new head coach comes in. They're picking at the top of the draft. Sam Darnold's at the tail end of his rookie contract. You don't know when you're going to be picking this high with very good quarterback prospects available again. And next year is not the richest quarterback draft class. So unless they're fully committed to Darnold, which at this point, I find it hard to believe, being that he only has 1 year left on his rookie salary and the way that he performed this year, even though a lot of it may not be completely his fault, I think they will be taking a quarterback. And I think the quarterback that best fits what they're looking to do is Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson from BYU stands at 6'3". He threw 33 touchdowns, 3 interceptions this year. He's got some mobility. He could definitely run. He's got a very accurate arm. He's got zip on his throws. That's the book on him. And yeah, a guy that I am very impressed with. And if I was a New York Jet fan, this is the quarterback that I would be looking to take. So I got 2 quarterbacks going in my first 2 picks. Next up, we got the Miami Dolphins picking at number 3 overall. Of course, they have 2 first-round selections. This was the draft pick that they got from the Houston Texans. And because they got 2 first-round selections, I got them going out there and helping their quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. Now, we don't know. Like I said, things are going to develop. Maybe Deshaun Watson ends up with the Dolphins. But regardless, I think Jamaar Chase is just too talented. They need a wide receiver. I think this is the right spot to do it. I had Penny Sewell here for a while, the offensive tackle from Oregon. I ended up changing my mind as it approached. And I ended up going with Jamaar Chase. Jamaar Chase is regarded as the best wide receiver prospect in this year's draft class, in my opinion. You go back before the year started, of course, he sat out due to COVID. Stands at 6'1", I think, 205 pounds. Guy caught for 20 touchdowns with Joe Burrow just a year ago. Really good prospect. He's got everything that you could possibly want in a wide receiver. Love Jamaar Chase. Love the fit there for the Miami Dolphins as they get that offense rolling. Next up, at number 4, the Atlanta Falcons. And Atlanta Falcons, as of now, still have Matt Ryan on the roster. He's still under contract. But rumors have come out that the Atlanta Falcons are looking to trade away Matt Ryan. And in the end, I think they're going to. I think that they're going to be drafting a quarterback in this year's draft class. And maybe even if they hold on to Ryan, they still draft the quarterback. Like I said, Atlanta, to me, is kind of in full rebuild mode. They're trying to ship Julio. They're trying to ship Ryan. They see where they are in the process. They bring in a new head coach. You have an opportunity, much like the Jets, to bring in a quarterback of your liking. Very good quarterback prospects in this draft. Justin Fields is one of them out of Ohio State. Now, traditionally, Ohio State quarterbacks don't do great. We all know that. This is a special kid. 6'3", 228. He had 22 touchdowns, 6 picks this year. He could run. That was only in 8 games, by the way. The previous year, I think he had like 41 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Justin Fields is a very talented prospect, and I've got him going here to Atlanta at number 4 overall. Which brings me to number 5, and number 5 to me is pretty obvious. Maybe it won't be Sewell, but that's who I have. But I think the Cincinnati Bengals, they've made it, pretty obvious they are going to be taking a guy that can protect Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, of course, the number 1 overall pick last year, suffered an injury. The Bengals have a lackluster offensive line. Penei Sewell got Heisman votes just a year ago at the offensive tackle position. He is a freak. He's got tremendous upside. People point to some of his technique. They say it's a bit of an issue, but if he hits his upside, could be an all-pro left tackle for years to come in the NFL. Love the pick here for Cincinnati. He falls right in their lap at number 5 overall. Next up, at number 6, and I was going back and forth here with the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles could go so many ways. They have so many holes on this team. They could definitely go wide receiver, and I was thinking wide receiver at some point. They could definitely go tight end. You know, I'm starting to read a lot of things about Kyle Pitts and how he would fit the Nick Sirianni offense. But in the end, I think that they're going to go corner. I really do. Last year, they took a wide receiver. They've taken wide receivers several times early in the draft over the last couple of years. I think they're going to try to let those guys develop. Maybe they draft a wide receiver in the second round in a rich wide receiver draft class, but they need help in that defense. They got a corner here staring them right in the face out of Alabama. I'm going to have them take it, Patrick Surtain. Really talented. The only worry that anybody has for him is his speed. He doesn't have unbelievable speed, but he's tall. He's good in man press cover. Really smart football player. I think it's a really good pick for the Eagles. Will the Eagles go this route? Maybe, maybe not. But I think this is the best way for them to go. They could go with a linebacker as well. They could go with a wide receiver. They go a lot of ways here. But in the end, I got them, at least as of now, taking Patrick Surtain out of Alabama. Next up, at number 7, we got the Detroit Lions. And the Lions just traded away Matthew Stafford. They brought in Jared Goff. And, you know, they drafted TJ Hockenson a couple of years ago. I personally think they're going to lose their number 1 wide receiver on the team as of now to free agency with Kenny Golladay. And to me, this was between 2 wide receivers, and I went with the guy that I feel is the best prospect, and the guy that ultimately, I think when the scouts watch the film, are going to agree with me. I could be completely wrong, but I like Jalen Waddle a lot. The guy is explosive. I know a lot of people point to his height. They say he's 5'10". He's only a slot. Go and watch the film. This guy could go up and get it. He could run so many different routes. He was the number 1 wide receiver over there in Alabama before he went down with the injury, and then, of course, Devonta Smith took off and won the Heisman Trophy. But right now, if you ask me, I have Jalen Waddle ahead of him. And in the end, I'm going to think Detroit has the same order. I got the Detroit Lions taking Jalen Waddle at number 7 overall, which is going to bring us to pick number 8. And I was going a lot of ways here. At number 8. Initially, I was going with Kyle Pitts. I said I could definitely see him going to Carolina. Could easily see that. Then I said to myself, Parsons could make sense here as well. But when I really thought about it, I'm looking at a kid here, Trey Lance. You want to talk about upside through the roof, and you got an opportunity to take him at 8 overall. We all know that Teddy Bridgewater is not the long-term answer. Signed a 3-year deal last year. Really only 1 more year worth of a commitment with the Carolina Panthers. It's a perfect fit for a kid that, obviously went to North Dakota State, small school. He could sit and learn for a year, half year, whatever it may be, under Bridgewater. You got the weapons over in Carolina already. Even if you lose Curtis Samuel, they got really good wide receivers over there. He steps into a good situation. Matt Rule gets his quarterback that he gets to build the team with now for what he hopes is the next 10 to 15 years. This kid is special. He had 42 combined touchdowns in his sophomore year with 0 interceptions. Ran for over 1,100 yards. He's got a really strong arm. Upside through the roof with Trey Lance. Stands at 6'4". Big fan of his, and I think he's a really good fit with the Carolina Panthers. He's going to go there, and he's going to get to take advantage of some of the weapons they got. Next up, at number 9, that is now going to bring us to the Denver Broncos. And now, I've seen some rumors about Parsons. I haven't talked about it because I don't know if it's legitimate yet. You've seen it from some sources, but you really haven't seen it floating around in league circles. We'll have to wait and see how involved he was with the pranks and everything else at Penn State and whether or not that will hurt his draft stock. But right now, I'm still seeing him mocked relatively high. You're not hearing too much news about it. It is very possible, if that comes out to be true, he could fall. Right now, I'm going to have him mocked at number 9 overall to the Denver Broncos. And the Broncos have a lot of holes. They could definitely go quarterback. They were rumored to potentially be trying to trade for a quarterback in Matt Stafford. They sent in an offer. But at number 9, if all 4 quarterbacks are gone, I think the wide receivers are set there. They got a lot of good wide receivers. I think they're going defense here. I really do. If they're not going quarterback, Parsons is a freak. He's a versatile player. You can play him on the outside. You can play him in the middle. He's going to be a great middle linebacker / edge rusher for the Denver Broncos for years to come. Big fan of Parsons, the player. And I think it's a really good pick there by the Denver Broncos. Next up, the Dallas Cowboys. I've got the Dallas Cowboys resetting the clock, and that's right, Giants fans. You probably know who I'm taking at number 11 now that you saw how it worked out. But I've got the Dallas Cowboys resetting the clock, rebuffing that offensive line. It's gotten old. They need to get younger. They got an opportunity here to get a very good tackle in Rashawn Slater out in Northwestern. A lot of people really like this kid. You're starting to see him climb up mocks. He stands at 6'3", 305 pounds. I've seen him mocked to the Cowboys in a number of drafts. In the end, I do think the Cowboys will go with a tackle or a corner. I think it's one or the other. Could have easily went with a guy, like a guy like Farley here. It was between Farley and it was between a tackle. In the end, I had the Cowboys taking the tackle, Slater, out of Northwestern at 10 overall. Next up, the New York Giants. I've got the New York Giants getting this year's Heisman winner. And like I said, me personally, I have him ranked 3 at the wide receiver position. This could easily be Waddle. If you look at a lot of the mocks now, they have Waddle being the 3rd. Personally, I have him 3rd, and I think some scouts will think like me, but we'll have to wait and see. Devonta Smith would fit this scheme perfectly. It would right away give the New York Giants that number 1 option that New York Giants fans have been clamoring for. You pair him with Saquon Barkley, it would be dynamite on that side of the ball as long as that offensive line continues to mature and we get to see some progression out of Daniel Jones. But you get him his much-needed wide receiver on the outside, and you hope that it fills out the rest of the offense. Obviously, a great year this year for Devonta Smith. Won the Heisman Trophy. Caught for over 1,700 yards in the regular season. Alabama's really been developing a lot of great wide receivers in the NFL. Next up, in my opinion, the corner with the most upside. He may be the corner I like the most. Got him going 2nd at the position. 12th overall to the San Francisco 49ers. You look on any, website about the Niners, they say their number 1 need is the cornerback spot. Caleb Farley's there, 6'2", sat out this year. He was actually the first athlete or high-profile athlete in this year's draft to sit out due to the virus. Had a great year last year. This year didn't play. 6'2", runs like the wind, man cover press corner, really good player. I think he'll fit in very nicely for the San Francisco 49ers at number 12 overall. Next up, the Chargers. And I got the Chargers taking an offensive lineman. Obviously, they drafted Herbert last year. By all accounts, their offensive line is still not nearly developed. They've been struggling. I think they need a tackle. A lot of people say Vera Tucker could be a guard or a tackle. Right now, they have him penciled in to play the tackle position. Most people have him ranked as the 3rd tackle in this year's draft class. Maybe it'll be somebody else. I am pretty set in stone that the Chargers will be taking an offensive lineman with that pick. They need to protect their quarterback with Justin Herbert. So I like Vera Tucker here going to the Chargers from USC, so he gets to stay home. Next up, at number 14 overall, you've seen him start to, creep up draft charts, and a lot of people even have the New York Giants taking him, and I see why. The guy's a tremendous athlete. I got Kwity Paye going number 14 overall to the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings, I was kind of back and forth. I always mocked them to take an offensive lineman. They very well could again. That offensive line is still not developed fully. But Kwity Paye to me is too good of a talent here to pass up. They could definitely use a punch on that defensive side of the football. They bring in a nice edge rusher. Only played 4 games for Michigan this year. Had over 20 pressures. Really talented player. Improved his game. He was known as being more so of a run stuffer. And he kind of developed to being a better edge rusher this year in the 4 games with Michigan. And he's creeped up draft charts. Most people have him as the number 1 edge rusher in this year's draft class. Next up, at number 15, there he is, guys. And this has been one of the more popular players from Giants fans that they want us to take. And if all 3 wide receivers are gone, we very well may take them. Kyle Pitts is an animal. I got Kyle Pitts going to the New England Patriots. And we all know the New England Patriots have had some great tight ends in their days, right? Rob Gronkowski, he rings a bell. Well, now they're going to get his replacement with Kyle Pitts out of Florida. He stands at 6'6", 250 pounds. He's a mammoth of a man, a willing blocker, a very good wide receiver. You can play him on the inside and the out. He'd be a matchup nightmare. Pitts is one of the hardest guys to mock because I could see him going to so many different places. I could see him going as high as 6 to the Eagles. I could see him probably going as low, probably right here to 15 to the Patriots. So I had him either going to the Eagles, the Panthers, the Giants, or the Patriots. That's where I had him going. In the end, I had him slipping to 15 to the New England Patriots. Whenever you do one of these, somebody's going to fall. I had Kyle Pitts dropping to number 15. Next up, J.C. Horn. And if you look at anybody's needs right now for the Arizona Cardinals, they will tell you that cornerback is their biggest need. J.C. Horn is a very, very good cornerback. I think he stands at about 6'2", 6'1" maybe. And everything you hear about him, really good, solid cornerback. He's big, he's long, he's athletic, he's got experience in press man. He'd actually be a really good fit for the New York Giants. And don't be shocked if they were to draft him. He wouldn't be near the top of my list, though, in terms of probability. Next up, Gregory Rousseau going to the Oakland or the LA Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders, rather, I should say. The Raiders always seem to take guys, I think, with very high ceilings. You see them do it all the time. They need an edge, and Rousseau is a project. He's a gamble, but he has a very high ceiling. He had 15.5 sacks 2 years ago. Still very underdeveloped, though. Didn't play this year due to the virus. Everybody says he needs to work on his technique. Mammoth of a man. He's 6'7". But yeah, definitely a guy with high potential, but I think he's a project, and it's going to take a little time to get it out of him. But I got the Raiders taking him there at number 17 overall. Next up, the Miami Dolphins on the clock at number 18, and the Dolphins already went out there. They got a wide receiver to help out Tua. Now I got them taking a running back to help out Tua. They need some help in the running back spot. They could go with an offensive lineman for sure, maybe beef up the defense. They could go a variety of ways here. I got them going with Najee Harris out of Alabama. He is a beast. He's 6'2", 226. Derrick Henry-esque. Obviously not as big as him, but had 1,466 yards and 22 touchdowns at Alabama this year. A great running back, and definitely, in my opinion, will be the first running back off the board. That may change. You never know, but I like Najee Harris to go to the Miami Dolphins. Next up on the clock, we've got the Washington football team, and this pick could easily change. Like I said, they could make a trade for a quarterback. They could sign a quarterback. Right now, they don't have a quarterback. So I'm going to have them taking Mac Jones out of Alabama. Had a fantastic year this year. He actually had the highest QB rating, however they measure it in college, I think, in the history of the sport. I don't know how long they've been measuring that. I know it doesn't go that far back. But he had a great statistical season this year for Alabama. Not the most mobile guy. He's a traditional pocket passer for the most part. 32 touchdowns, 4 interceptions this year. He stands at 6'3". Mac Jones going to Washington as they get their future quarterback. Next up on the clock at number 20, the Chicago Bears. And everything I read about the Bears, they need some help on that offensive line. Last year they drafted a tight end. They didn't have a first-round pick, but they took Cole Kmet. They need to beef up that O-line, and that's exactly what they're going to do here at number 20 with Christian Darrisaw out of Virginia Tech, standing at 6'5", 314, and they get what they hope is a plug-and-play starter at the tackle spot. Next on the clock is the Indianapolis Colts, and the Indianapolis Colts have spent a lot of draft capital as of late at the wide receiver position. You've seen them do it each of the last 2 drafts pretty early on in the draft, but I still don't think it's solved. They're more than likely going to be losing T.Y. Hilton to free agency this year. That's still a vacancy. We'll see what they do at the quarterback spot. In the end, I don't think it'll be in the draft. They do have Jacob Eason on the roster, former 4th-round pick, however. Do they go out and sign or trade for a quarterback with Phillip Rivers leaving? But regardless, I think they go out there and get Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota at number 21 overall. He stands at 6'2". He had 1,219 yards 2 years ago with 11 touchdowns in his sophomore year. This year, I think he only played 5 games, but a very talented wide receiver that you're starting to see creep up draft boards. Next up, at number 22 overall, we've got the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans need an edge rusher. Far and away their biggest need. Everything I read, need an edge rusher. Jalen Phillips is the other edge rusher on Miami that kind of stood out this year. I think he transferred from UCLA while Greg Rousseau sat out. Stands at 6'5", 266. He had 8 sacks for the University of Miami, and now I got him going to Tennessee at number 22 overall as they get their edge rusher. Number 23, you've got the New York Jets, and the Jets already got themselves a quarterback. I think we all realize when we think about the Jets, they need some spark on that offense. They don't have the most weapons in the world. The offensive line has started to get better last year with some of their draft picks and free agent acquisitions, but they definitely need to add a wide receiver. They need to add some spark. Well, Kadarius Toney really stood out at the Senior Bowl. He's really starting to move up mocks. Really talented player. He's versatile. You could move him around. You could even use him at running back from time to time. He's 5'11". He had 984 yards and 10 touchdowns for the Gators this year, and I got the Jets getting themselves a wide receiver at number 23. Next up, at number 24, I'm reading a lot about the Steelers that they need to rebuff that offensive line. They're losing depth at the guard position. Wyatt Davis is widely regarded as one of the best guard prospects in this year's draft out of Ohio State. 6'4", 313. Pittsburgh Steelers need to rebuff that offensive line. They got a prime opportunity to do it here as they get an interior offensive lineman to provide some depth and eventually be a starter potentially in the 2021 season. Next up on the clock, at number 25 overall, we're going to stay with the offensive lineman. Jacksonville got themselves a quarterback. Now they need somebody to protect him. We're going to go with Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State. 6'4", 304, regarded as one of the better tackles in this year's draft class. It only makes sense. You take a quarterback, you need somebody who can protect him. That's usually what teams do. It just so happens the Jaguars have 2 first-round picks this year, so they could kill 2 birds with 1 stone in 2021. Next up, at number 26 overall, we're going to have the Cleveland Browns in need of an edge rusher. He fits the scheme. He's an outside linebacker that most people feel fits better in a 4-3 alignment. That's what the Cleveland Browns run. And I think it's pronounced Azeez Ojulari out of Georgia, the outside linebacker prospect. Guy is fast. Guy's athletic. He'd provide a spark to that defense. Got him going to the Cleveland Browns. Next up, at number 27, we're going to go to Baltimore. Baltimore, I think we all agree, need to get themselves a wide receiver. They got Hollywood Brown, right? They got a really good tight end over there, but they need more spark at that wide receiver spot, and they could really use a guy that could go up and get it. And that's what they're going to get with Terrace Marshall. 6'4", out of LSU. He had 731 yards and 10 touchdowns this year. He had 13 touchdowns the year before, and I think under 700 yards. This guy is a red zone threat. He's a guy that Lamar Jackson would be able to throw some jump balls up to. He would open up the offense in the red zone. He would open up the offense midfield for big plays down the field. Marshall, give me him to the Baltimore Ravens. Next up, at number 28 overall, we are going to go to the New Orleans Saints. And the New Orleans Saints are going to get themselves a nice gadget player here. 5'9", Rondell Moore out of Purdue. He's versatile. He's an electric receiver, one of the most electric players in this year's draft class. He's been banged up, though, at Purdue the last couple of years. Go back to 2018, I think he had 1,200 yards. People are very impressed with him. If he can stay healthy, he's one of the most dynamic players in this year's draft. And you think about him on the turf in New Orleans with Sean Payton calling the plays, he'd be a really nice addition to that New Orleans Saints offense. I could see the Saints going a lot of ways here, though. They could go linebacker, they go offensive line, but in the end, I had them taking a wide receiver. Next up, Green Bay Packers. Same thing. Packers are tough to draft for. They go a lot of ways. They could definitely take another wide receiver. One player I really like, and I know a lot of Giants fans like him as well, is Owusu Karamoah out of Notre Dame. Guy is super athletic. He's kind of a hybrid player. He weighs 215 pounds, 6'1". You could play him. He's listed as a linebacker. You could play him off the edge. You could drop him back in coverage. Very athletic. Got him going here. He's kind of a project, but he's got very high upside to the Green Bay Packers at number 29. Next up at number 30, maybe this is a bit of a reach, but I was thinking about the Buffalo Bills offense. They've added wide receivers the last couple years. I'm not in love with the tight end spot. I think they got Knox. He's an okay tight end. One tight end I'm really impressed with that would really add to this offense. People call him Baby Gronk. I think it's pronounced Pat Freiermuth out of Penn State. Last year in 4 games, he had 310 yards for the Nittany Lions. Regarded as the second best tight end prospect in this year's draft class. Got him going to Buffalo at number 30. Next up at number 31, and I'm going to predict the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, which means the Bucs will be picking 31. I'm going to have the Bucs going with a defensive tackle, Christian Barmore out of Alabama. He stands at 6'5", 310 pounds. Everything I read on this guy, he's got tremendous upside. You stick him in there in that interior defensive line, and really when you look at the Bucs, they don't have a lot of holes. I mean, maybe they could add to that offensive line. They've got a really good defense. From what I read, they could definitely use an interior presence on the defensive line, so I went with him. They could easily go with an edge rusher if they lose a guy like Shaq Barrett as well. I'm leaning that they'll probably go defense. They got a ton of wide receivers unless they go with the O-line. But in the end, I got him taking Barmore out of Alabama. And then finally, the Kansas City Chiefs, the impossible team to draft for. I think they need to rebuff that offensive line a bit. One guy I really like, he's a big hog molly, Alex Leatherwood, offensive tackle out of Alabama, 6'5", 312. Read a lot of mock drafts that think the Chiefs could definitely be going with that offensive line, but you never know with the Chiefs. They could take a wide receiver. They could do a lot of things. They could beef up the secondary maybe a little bit. Who knows? But in the end, I got him taking a tackle. I had a lot of tackles there going in that first round. Kind of mixed it up a bit. Wanted to go over some of the team needs, get to learn these teams a little bit better. But I had a lot of fun going over this mock. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well. I'll have another one up probably around right after we get some rumors and the pro days, maybe in like 3 weeks, a month. Then obviously after free agency, then before the draft. But as always, guys, if you like what you watch, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.